Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Game Master Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video I am going to be creating my first character for Daggerheart. I've chosen to create a ranger first. It's one of my preferred character classes. It was either going to be ranger or rogue, so I decided for the purpose of this video I'm going to create a ranger. And many of the resources that I will be using for this process is obviously I have the starter kit, so the full rule book along with the card decks that come along with it, and I'm also using some of the online resources that you get on Daggerheart.com, and so you can get a solo, not a solo, I'm sorry, like an entry level adventure. You can get the GM's tips pages and everything, character sheets and whatnot. So I'll be showing you all, showing off those things that I'm utilizing as well as the cards and everything all in one shot. Another re-mentioning of how much I really do enjoy the fact that the way that this book is constructed, you can very easily, and I'll turn to the Rangers section, you can see how flat this actually lays, so you can read both pages very, very clearly, and and the book is just well laid out for that kind of putting it out on your table and working directly from the book for character creation or other things as well, rather than relying on the PDF, which is still nice to have for quick reference, but I prefer to utilize the book. Now, for this purpose here on the video, I'm going to be using the PDF so that you can see it as well. And I will be changing views depending on what I'm actually talking about, whether it's the PDF view or the full table view, which I'm going to shift to right now. So here I have laid out, a lot of the cards that are going to come into play for creating a character first of all, and then specifically for running a ranger as a player character. So I began with printing out the character sheet for Ranger, and so here is the character sheet. I recommend that you use the ones that are class specific, and they have one for every single class, and you can print it front and back. So Rangers have their generic Ranger abilities here, and then if you have the Beastbound Ranger, then you have your companion on the back of the sheet. And then I also printed from the GM's tips pages, which that's what I'll call them. I also have the character guide for Ranger, and I utilize this for creating my character here. So the Ranger's traits, they give you a suggestion for the Ranger's traits, and that is to do a +2 agility, a 0 strength, a +1 finesse, a +1 instinct, a -1 presence, and a 0 knowledge. And so that's along the lines of what I am using for my first character. So you don't have attribute roles for your character. You're just going to assign that +2, the 2 +1s, the 2 zeros, and the 1 -1 to your various attributes. And your attributes are agility, strength, finesse, instinct, presence, and knowledge. So I'm using what they suggest for the Ranger. Also suggested primary weapon for a Ranger is a short bow, which is agility and far. So that's it's an agility based skill, and then far is the range for it. It does d6 +3 damage, physical damage, and it is a two-handed weapon. The suggested armor for a ranger is leather armor, and its thresholds are 6 and 13 with a score of 3. I haven't fully unpacked what exactly that means, but I will be going into it. Then there is an inventory suggestion here. And so you have your various inventory suggestions, and then your character description, which I will not be utilizing. I don't need tips on how to describe my character. I just do that. There are background questions. I'm going to kind of avoid that as well. I can create my own background. And then connections, again, I will set up any kind of connections that I need without needing tips for it. But it does have their tier 2, so for levels 2 to 4, tier 3, levels 5 to 7, and tier 4, which is levels 8 to 10, just suggestions and choosing your options and your bonuses once you hit each of those new thresholds. So that's a good to have thing there as well. So let's talk about the cards and how you create any kind of a character. All right, so the first thing you do is you have your various character classes. All right, and there are now I've separated just the ranger classes. So I have either the ranger beastbound or the ranger wayfarer, and I chose to go with the wayfarer. So this is my first character card that I am going to place next to me, next to my character sheet as I'm creating my character. The next thing I needed to do is to change the species or ancestry or race of the character, and I tend to lean towards humans. So this is going to be my character. Humans are the most easily recognized by their dexterous hands, rounded ears, and bodies built for endurance. I don't know where those descriptions actually come from. I mean, the rounded ears, obviously, in comparison to the other ancestries, I guess. High stamina gain an additional stress slot at character creation. Their adaptability when you fail a roll that utilizes one of your experiences, you can mark a stress to re-roll. All right, I just dropped my card. Let me read the Wayfarer, I'm sorry. So the Wayfarer is the ranger type that I'm going with. Its spell casting trait is agility. Ruthless Predator. When you make a damage roll, you mark a stress to gain a +1 bonus to your proficiency. Additionally, when you deal severe damage to an adversary, they must mark a stress as well. Path Forward. When you're traveling to a place you've previously visited or you carry an object that has been at the location before, you can identify the shortest, most direct path to your destination. All right, so there's my class and my ancestry. Then you choose community. And so there were several different communities that I could choose from Highborn to Loreborn to Orderborn, Ridgeborn, Seaborn, Slyborn, Underborn, and Wandererborn. But I chose to go with Wildborn. And so here we have the Wildborn card, and I am going to read this. Being part of the Wildborn community means you live deep within the forest. Your movement is naturally silent. You have advantage on rolls to move without being heard. So I'm going to place that on the side as well. I'm just going to pause this for a moment to pick up that card off the floor. Okay, just picked that up off the floor. The next decision I have is that I get to choose my either starting traits or spells, abilities or spells, and the ranger has 2 different class categories of these. Now I choose 2 at first level, and they can be chosen from either bone or sage. You can only choose level 1s at your beginning choice. And so I'm just going to organize these to show you the choices that I had to choose from. and then the ones that I actually decided to take from. So, an ability of Nature's Tongue was one of my options, and that is you can speak the language of natural world. When you want to speak to plants and animals around you, you make an instinct roll as a 12. That's your target number. On a success, they'll give you the information they know. On a roll with fear, their knowledge might be limited or come at a cost. Additionally, before you make a spellcast roll, while within a natural environment, you can spend a hope to gain a +2 on the roll. So let me explain that to you a little bit with rolls. All right, so this system here uses for ability checks 2d12. So 2d12, you need two different colors, and for my purposes, I am going to be using the blood splattered d12 as my fear die, and the regular die, or kind of, black and maroon colored here, for my hope die. And so what you do is, so in that instance, right, an instinct roll of a 12, and my character for instinct does not have any pluses or minuses. So I'm just going to roll this, and I'm looking for a 12 on 2d12. So I rolled 2 10s. So rolling 2 10s actually means that it was a critical success. Anytime you roll doubles of any number, it's a critical success. So I was successful in whatever I'm going to be doing if I'm going with this skill. So I had the choice of the ability of Nature's Tongue. I also had the choice of Gifted Tracker. Now, Gifted Tracker is the one that I'm going to go with, right? So Gifted Tracker, when you're tracking a specific creature or group of creatures based on signs of their passage, you can spend any number of hope and ask the GM that many questions from the following list. What direction did they go in? How long ago did they pass through? What were they doing in this location? How many of them were there? When you encounter creatures you've tracked in this way, you gain a +1 bonus to your evasion skill against them. All right, so no rolls required in this. You're just expending hope. Now that double that I just rolled would actually generate a hope for me. So I would have another hope. So I'm going to go with this particular one and put that here. So that's Gifted Tracker. Now I'm going to go through the other choices that I have is to draw from Bone. Those were from Sage. This is from Bone. So under Bone, it says the ability, I can see it coming. When you're targeting by an attack made from beyond melee range, you can mark a stress to roll a d4 and gain a bonus to your evasion equal to that result. The second is Untouchable. This is an ability. Gain a bonus to your evasion equal to half your agility. All right. My character's agility is going to be, it's a +2, so I would gain a +1 bonus to it. What I chose to do was, because you can draw from the same stack of abilities a second card, I chose to go with another spell, and this one is under the Sage. And this one is mark a spellcast roll against a target within far range. On a success, roots and vines reach out from the ground, dealing d8 +1 physical damage and temporarily restraining the target. Additionally, on a success, you can spend hope to temporarily restrain another adversary within very close range of your target. All right. So again, making a spell casting roll, I would roll that 2d12 again, and this time I rolled a 10, and a 9. All right. Now, typically, your average difficulty or challenge or target number is a 15. That's an average roll. And so I rolled a 19. I rolled a 10 on my blood splattered and a 9 on my hope die. So my fear die and my hope die. So my roll was higher on the fear die than it was on the hope die. So I was still successful. However, I'm going to be successful with some kind of a fear modifier to this roll. So I would still take vicious entanglement along with my abilities and elsewhere. So now I have the 5 cards that represent my character's general makeup. So I have my class and subclass, which is Ranger, Wayfinder. I have my ancestry, species or race, whatever you want to call it, as a human. I have my community, which is Wildborn. And then I have my 2 abilities that I took at first level here, Gifted Tracker and Vicious Entanglement. Now, I'm thinking of ways that I can display these on the table, if I were a player, and I'm going to be looking for a way of like finding those kind of trays that are usually for binding those plastic report folders, and just they usually have a flat base on them, and then I can stack up these cards in front of me so that everyone can see the cards that I have that make up my character. So it's one way to show everyone at the table how what my character build is basically. The other thing I can do is, because they provide you on the website with the ability to print out all of these cards as well, just on regular paper and in black and white, I believe. I can use that as the display side and then still have the color side towards me, or vice versa. That way it makes it an easy way to display what my character is to everyone else at the table. So now I'm going to go to the actual PDF and start going through some of the other decisions that you have to make as as you're creating your character. So as I mentioned, or if I hadn't mentioned yet, your first entry into Daggerheart in creating a character, in chapter 1, you say preparing for adventure, you're going to read about the world, right? And so I highly recommend that you do this just to get a good sense, whether you're a player or the game master, get a good sense of what the world is supposed to be like. I'm not going to spend any time doing that right now. You have magic and spells and abilities and whatnot that you'll choose. They actually happen to have the Ranger here as an example. Flavoring the game: if the default portrayal of your character's mechanic effects doesn't fit with them and their style, you can always describe it in ways that it does. Again, you can describe your character however you wish to describe your character, and you can make changes to those descriptions in ways that don't have a mechanical effect on the game, right? So they give an example here. If you want to have a rogue that can obscure where they're going from, like creating like a black cloud around them, rather than using magic, you can have them thematically using a gadget or invention instead. It still has the same exact game effects. You're just describing it in a way that it accounts for that ability in a different way through a different mechanism, but it doesn't change the mechanics of the game at all. So it's all up to you and your game master, how you're going to use it. If it fits the game, then fine. They go into doing a session 0, and I firmly believe that you should have a session 0 as a game master, just so that you can describe, what your game, your campaign concept is, and what the tone is going to be, what the movie rating kind of setting, you're going to be looking to do as well. I typically lean towards, almost invariably, like a PG-13 kind of tone, and I only run my games for adults for the most part. Certainly, no one under the age of 13 have I run games, except for when I was, 13 myself, and so it's good to have a session 0, so that you can explain basically what the expectations of the table are going to be, and both for the players, my expectations of my players, and my players' expectations, that they can express to me what they expect. But I don't go into the other aspects of the game, such as safety tools and that kind of thing. I never take away from the game, as far as safety tools are concerned, whether it be lines and veils or X cards or anything like that. I just allow my players to choose to opt out momentarily while the game continues running, and their character will kind of be in like a remote mode, during that time. And then if they, wish to return to the table, they're certainly welcome to do so, and pick up where we kind of left off. No, not where they left off, but where the other players have left off. I think that that's a much better way of doing it than just saying, all right, we're going to skip over all of this content that the rest of the players might have been fully on board with. So going through that kind of a decision making process is something that I will explain in session 0. That I don't remove content from what is happening during the course of running an adventure. I don't run railroads either, so it's not like I can anticipate what is potentially going to be something that raises someone's issue. But my players are always welcome to walk away and come back in a few minutes, and pick up where the rest of the group left off with. So choosing your class, I already spoke about choosing the class, and here's the classes that there are. So you have Bard, and each class has 2 separate subclasses that you can choose from. So there are Bards, there are Druids, there are Guardians, there are Rangers, Rogues, Seraphs, which are kind of like priestly types, Sorcerers, Warriors, Wizards. Then we go into recording your level, your class details, your features, and I detailed that with the cards. So I thought that was a better way to show what cards I was using. We go into the ancestries, and so you have Clank, Dracona, Dwarf, Elf, Fairy, Faun, Furbolg, Fungrill, which is like a fungi type things, a Galapa, which is like a tortoise type creature, a giant, a goblin, a halfling, a human, Infernus, a Qatari with cat people, orcs, ribbits, frog people, Simia, which is like monkey people or ape people. Choosing your community, and I went over these various community types, then languages. In Daggerheart, you don't ask to pick a specific, you're not asked to pick a specific languages for your character. The game assumes that everyone speaks a common language. So there's only really one language in the world, and everyone speaks it. Assigning character traits, like I mentioned, you can use their suggestion. The distribution trait modifiers are +2, +1, +1, 0, and a -1, and then you set those traits where you wish to place them in. Recording additional information, so your character's evasion reflects how hard it is for adversaries to hit them. Your character class's start evasion appears right beneath the evasion field on their character sheet. So the starting for a ranger is a 12. So they start with a 12. When the adversary attacks against your character, the GM rolls against the evasion to see if the adversary succeeds. You can choose how your character's evasion manifests within a narrative. A wizard might avoid blows with shimmering arcane shields or bat away an adversary spell, while a ranger nimbly dodges out of the way and attacks. Your character's evasion starts low, but that's because it's not their only means of avoiding damage. If they're hit, you'll also have the opportunity to reduce incoming damage through use of armor. So evasion, all right, is going to start as a 12, and there are no other modifiers, so I will put a 12 in there. The armor I haven't chosen yet, so I'm not sure just yet where that comes from. So your character's health and well-being are represented by hit points and stress points. Hit points, sometimes called HP, are an abstract reflection of your physical fortitude and your ability to take hits from both blade and magic. Each class starts with a set number of hit points. Stress reflects your ability to withstand the pressures of dangerous situation. Every class starts with 6 stress. So under my hit points, for a ranger, I'm starting off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hit points, and I have 6 stress points. So rangers start with a good number of both hit points and stress. Hope and fear. Hope and fear are currencies used by the players and the GM to represent the way fate turns for or against the characters during the game. You start with 2 hope points. Mark these in the hope field on your character sheet. So I would mark off my two hope points on the character sheet. Anytime you roll with hope on your duality dice, meaning your hope die rolled higher than your fear, you gain a hope to a maximum of 6. During the game, you can spend hope to help your character's allies apply your life experiences to challenges and empower their spells and abilities. If instead you roll with fear on your duality dice, means your fear die rolled higher than your hope die, the GM gains a fear that can be spent on certain effects. Sometimes a fear roll introduces other complications into a scene, even if you succeeded on your roll. All right, so that's something that the game master is going to have a pool of as well. All right, choosing your starting equipment, and so you're going to choose between physical weapons and or magical weapons, and then you're going to select. You can select or choose either a 2-handed primary weapon or a 1-handed primary weapon and a 1-handed secondary weapon, then equip them. All right, so with a ranger, rangers typically start with a short bow, which is a 2-handed weapon, so I will not select a secondary weapon. All right, however, you do have inventory weapons, and that would be where you would place the backup weapon. All right, and it does cost a stress to switch weapons in combat. You know, so if I'm firing off my bow and then my adversaries do get within close range and I want to switch weapons, I will expend the stress and then switch to that inventory weapon. Choosing your armor, and I will go through, choosing the armor in a few moments. So you use armor to reduce the severity of incoming attacks. At character creation, you can choose one set of armor and equip it. You can find armor suggestions at the top of your character guide. And so it suggests that I start with active of leather armor, and it tells me my base thresholds and the base score. All right, so the base thresholds and score for leather armor, the thresholds is 6 and 13, and the score is 3, and the name is leather armor. And that is my active armor. So reading through, an armor's damage thresholds, shown as a base thresholds column, indicate how much damage a character can endure before marking hit points. Add your character's level to both values and record the total for both numbers in the corresponding fields. In the hit points and damage thresholds section of Chapter 2, you'll learn how many hit points to mark on your character sheet each time your character takes a hit. So actually I would add, so mine would be 7 and 14. All right, so 7 and 14 for my base thresholds because I am a first level character. Choosing your starting alignments, these are just basic alignments. I'm not going to go into that. Choosing your background, I already discussed that. I chose my character's background. Creating your experiences. Now, this is a little bit more interesting here, and it starts off. I'm going to read this section to you. So, in Daggerheart, your character's experiences are one of the core ways you express their backstory and expertise through mechanics. An experience is a word or phrase used to encapsulate a specific set of skills your character has acquired over the course of their exciting life. Your character starts with 2 experiences at character creation, each with a +2 modifier, and you'll earn more throughout your adventuring. Before creating experiences, you want to have a solid idea of your character is. The background questions are especially helpful for this. When you're ready, work with your GM to create 2 experiences that have shaped your character. Now they give you some examples here, and I'll talk about these. And remember, these are going to have +2 applied to each of them, and you can choose 2. So backgrounds, you have assassin, blacksmith, bodyguard, bounty hunter, chef to the royal family, circus performer, con artist, fallen monarch, field medic, high priestess, merchant noble, pirate, politician, runaway scholar, sellsword, soldier, storyteller, thief, or world traveler. You could have characteristics as part of your experiences. So affable, battle-hardened, bookworm, charming, cowardly, friend to all, helpful, intimidating presence, leader, lone wolf, loyal, observant, prankster, silver tongue, sticky fingers, stubborn to fault, survivor, young and native. So far reading through these things, I'm leaning towards bounty hunter, being the type of ranger that he is. That's starting to make sense. And looking through the characteristics, I kind of like lone wolf, especially if I'm looking to play this character as a solo character, whether I'm playing with a GM or I'm running solo play. Specialties. So acrobat, gambler, healer, inventor, magical historian, map maker, master of disguise, navigator, sharpshooter, survivalist, swashbuckler, or taciturn. tactician. Sorry, tactician. Looking at this at a later date, if I'm going to add more experiences, navigator might be something in there. Sharpshooter for sure. Survivalist is another possibility as well. Under skills, animal whisperer, barter, deadly aim, fast learner, incredible strength, liar, light feet, negotiator, photographic memory, quick hands, repair, scavenger, and tracker. Again, I probably have tracking skills already as a ranger, so I wouldn't need to take that as an additional skill, but some of these others I might actually include. And then phrases. Catch me if you can, fake it till you make it, first time's the charm, hold the line, I won't let you down, I'll catch you, and all of these using these experiences. So let's get into that. When one of your character's experiences fits the situation at hand, you can use that experience to showcase their expertise. Before you make your action or reaction roll, you can spend a hope to add the experience modifier to the roll's result. So that's where you're going to add your +2 on. Sometimes more than one of your character's experiences is a good fit for the situation. For example, if your character is trying to sneak past a guard in the dark and I live in the shadows and stealthy experiences would both apply, if it fits the story, you can add more than one experience modifier to the roll, spending a hope for each. So in that case, you would be able to use 2 hope to gain a +4 on the roll. All right. Now that +4 is not going to be applied. It's going to be applied to the final roll, and not whether it's your hope roll or your, or your fear roll. So it's done after the fact to add to it. Changing experiences. Your character has the opportunity to gain new experiences as they gain levels. However, if you discover that your character has outgrown a previous experience or doesn't feel right anymore, you're not stuck with the ones you've already chosen. For example, you might find that your character's stealthy experience no longer matches the head-on way you've learned to solve problems. Or perhaps your group likes to try to solve things diplomatically first, so your characters catch them by surprise experience isn't a good fit for the table's collaborative story. That's totally okay. Work with your GM to find experiences that better align with your storytelling goals and with the actions your character would be good at. I'm not so sure that I would allow for the changing of experiences. Just thematically or logically, that's not how experiences work. And I would certainly have it at an experience cost if they were going to try to do that. It's like you don't just unlearn your experiences and pick up new experiences in their place. You kind of retain everything that you have. So I'm not sure I would, even narratively allow for that. Choosing your domain cards. So again, I've already spoken about that, and you have a lot of choice along the way. Many character classes share various domains, like Rangers and Druids share a domain together, whereas the Rangers and Bone is shared by other classes as well. So Sage and Bone for Rangers are shared by 2 other classes. I know off the top of my head, Druid shares the Sage as well. Bone, most likely Warriors. So here we have a Sorcerer that is a different class, and they have Arcana and Midnight, and you can see their 2 domains right here next to Sorcerer, and they go through and show the evasion, the armor, then the distribution of their attribute bonuses here. So high in instinct and presence and finesse, lowest in strength obviously, and then agility and knowledge are both zeros. I would think sorcerers should be better with knowledge, but okay. Um, dual staff instinct and far. They do d6 plus 3 magic damage. Doesn't say if it's two-handed, which is interesting. So it doesn't have the burden of being two-handed. They can wear leather armor. That's also interesting. 6 and a 13. So that should have been written as a 7 and a 14. My understanding, you add your level to those two base thresholds. Minor stamina potion in their inventory and whatnot. So their experiences, Royal Mage +2, and Not on My Watch +2. So here you have a character sheet that deals out, so their minor damage is 7, and their major damage is at 14. Their minor damage is mark 1 hit point. 7 is, if they take more than 7, they mark off 2 hit points of damage, and if they take more than 14, they're going to mark off 3 hit points off there. So if they take less than 7, they only mark off 1. If they take more than 7, they mark off 2. If they take more than 14, they mark off 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if they take a total of 28 hit points of damage in one or more attacks, the character is going to be reduced to 0 hit points. I have not gone into what their what happens on character death. Here's the second part of the sorcerer character sheet. Like I said, I'm making a ranger. I'm going with that. Here are the various domains. Now they should have what character classes are for each of these domains, just listed down at the bottom of each. I'll make it a little bit easier. But here they have, it's going a little bit slow here. Domain choice. So here we have Druid is between these two domains. Ranger shares one domain with Druid, and like I said, Bone with Warrior. Warriors share this domain with Guardian, and so on. So on this, on this circle here, the domain circle, you can see what character classes share what domains with other character classes. So reading domain cards, so I will take a look at my domain cards here, the ones that I am taking, and so I chose 2 domain cards. So there's the level, which is the top corner here. The domain that it reflects is here. I wanted to see what this number 3, the recall cost. The number and lightning bolt in the top right of the card shows its recall cost. This doesn't affect you at character creation, but once you reach level 5, you'll have more cards than space in your loadout. Your set of 5 cards, see the loadout and vault section on page 101. You can normally only move an inactive card from your vault to your loadout during downtime, but you can mark a number of stress equal to the card's recall cost to swap it out. So that's what that means. So I've chosen 2, right? My gifted tracker has a recall cost of 0, and my vicious entanglement has a recall cost of 1. So if I wanted to swap out or swap in the vicious entangle with something else, if I wanted to, I would have the cost involved with a stress cost involved with doing that swapping out. Then we have the type of card, whether it's an ability, a spell, or a grimoire. And then the feature is the description of what the card actually does. Class, we're going to go into class here, and it does all of the, this is a generic class description, and then we go into the actual character classes. So I'm going to jump to 38 here so you can see, or at least attempt to jump to 38 so that you can see Rangers. So here is the Rangers. And so it lays out everything that I just described to you anyhow. All right, so its spellcast trait is agility. So you're utilizing agility as your rolls for spellcasting. Foundation feature, companion. There are different levels of foundation for your characters as well. So they start out with foundation, then they move to specialization, and finally to mastery. All right, and these will be in the level bands that are described, right? So foundational is tier 2, levels 2 to 4. Specialization would be levels 5 to 7, and finally mastery would be levels 8 to 10. All right, talks about the class feature of spending hope, how to spend hope and what they can use it on. And I read this to you already. And here is the Wayfinder in specifically the Wayfinder and what they can do. And then here is the Ranger Companion. All right, for the Beastbound. Okay, so that's pretty much where I'm going to leave off with this particular video. If anyone wants me to go into greater detail or wants to clarify anything that I had mentioned, please feel free to do so. And the next video that I do in this series, as I'm covering Daggerheart, is I'll go into the basic game mechanics of how it works. I kind of explained them here with just doing some sample rolls and talking about it, but I do want to go into much more detail with it in the next video as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. I apologize for the delay. I know I promised in my short that this video was going to be done last night, and I have to stop suggesting that I'm going to run a video or make a video on Monday nights because that's my late night at work, and I tend not to get home until about 8:30ish. And by the time I spend time with family or eat dinner or whatnot, it's always like even much more later than that by the time, and I just don't get around to it. So yeah, I will not be making long form videos on Monday nights, and so I'm not going to be promising that anymore either. So, but I hope you enjoyed this. You all have a great rest of your day. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen or at a convention sometime soon. Please remember to like and subscribe and to, to share out this video elsewhere. And again, I really do welcome commentary. So leave your comments in the comments section. Let me know if you're running this currently. Let me know if you're playing a Ranger. That would be really exciting for me to hear. And, as always, just keep on playing these games. Keep on trying out new game systems and everything. You can be as a grognard such as I describe myself and still get a lot of enjoyment about learning new modern systems and getting into them. I'm a big proponent for trying out different experiences within the hobby and getting an equal amount of enjoyment out of playing, whether it's old school or it's new school, whether it's a D&D derivative or something that is completely unique or separate from that kind of a game as well. And when you come across things in games that you're, just not, fitting your game style, change it. I mean, that's the, that's the heart and soul of the tabletop role playing hobby, is that you're fully empowered to run your table the way that you desire, and the way that your players are willing to play under. If they agree with you, they'll come back. If they don't like the way you're running a game, they won't. I mean, that's your biggest litmus test of what you're doing at your table. So anyway, thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your day.